So we got a 7810 that we're working on today, and customer was working some ground, and all of a sudden he starts smelling something, and air conditioner quit running, and the compressor locked up. The bearing went out on it. You can see it's kind of cockeyed one way there. The belt right here, it burnt it in half right there. So we're going to go ahead and pull this compressor off of here, and we're going to flush the system, replace the compressor, dryer, and expansion valve. So it looks like at some point must have had some wiring issues on this tractor. So they ran a new wire down here to the compressor here. So on the new compressor, we're going to go ahead and, since it's got a connector, I'm going to go ahead and pull this connector off here and repin it on the harness here, so we don't have to just, so if a compressor ever goes out again, we can we don't have to cut the wires on it. We'll go ahead and pull this compressor. Looks like the compressor has been leaking oil for a while already. The one thing I like to do is leave the manifolds connected to the lines here, because it's a steel line on aluminum housing here, and a lot of times when you go try breaking those loose, it'll actually strip the threads out. I always just like unbolting it there, pulling the compressor off of there, and then the new compressor comes with the new seals. We're over here on the right hand side of the tractor in front of the back wheel here, and this is where the dryer's located at. We're gonna go ahead and pull the dryer off of it so we can flush the system. Cannot flush through the dryer. It's a 3/4 and a 5/8. Take this side of the line off, and then a 3/4 and 1 inch on this side. So we got my flush kit right here, and we're going to put in about half a can here of the primary flush here. I've rigged up some fittings over the years for these lines so I can hook directly into them. You use pressurized air to push the flush through the system. Do a half a can on one side of the system and a half a can on the other right here. We'll go ahead and give it some air, and it'll push that flush through the system and clean out any contamination. We want to make sure and run air through it after the flush has exited the system, flush solvent out of the system there. After the primary flush, we're going to do the final flush here. Same thing, we're going to use half a can on one side and half a can on the other. During when it's really hot in the summer, you got to make sure and put your lid back on the can there, because it will evaporate pretty quickly. Go ahead and switch back to this side, and we'll put the final flush through this side now. Go ahead and get our new compressor out here. This is a remanufactured compressor. That's all you can get nowadays, I think. That's what we carry on hand anyway. Go ahead and pull the top off this one, since we're not going to be using it. I will go ahead and swap the pressure relief valve there to the new, from this one to the other one. Compressor does come with oil. Always want to make sure that does have oil in it. It's got plenty in there. Got to be careful when you're installing these. Make sure you don't get any dirt in anywhere. Compressor installed there. We just need to connect it here. I'm going to take that connector off of there, and we've got some special crimpers here to crimp the wire on there. There we go. That's a good crimp on there now. Go ahead and install that. Looks like factory now. We're going to go ahead and install some new O-rings on the lines here that connect to the dryer. Dryer only goes on one way, and there is a side that's supposed to be upward. So you want to make sure you got it pointed the right direction. We'll get a zip tie to attach this, and there's a cover that also goes over the top there. We're going to go ahead and pull the seat out of it now so we can get to the expansion valve. The evaporator and blower motors and everything are underneath the seat on these. So 4 bolts to hold the seat in, electrical connector, and then we'll lay it out the back window to give us access to the plate underneath. We're ready to pull the seat out of it. I like to lay a rug down on the back here so we don't damage any of the upholstery. Tilt this thing out the back window and just kind of balance it. and it'll sit right there. Pull this cover off right here. Got the bolts out now. We'll go ahead and pull this plate up. Looks like we've got a little bit of a leak over the years anyway. A little bit oily there. So it's a good thing we did come in here to replace that expansion valve. We can change the O-rings as well. So we got the expansion valve out of it right there. We'll go ahead and change the O-rings here. The expansion valve itself, I had to take the motor there loose so I could get in there to get the bolts out of it. And then we're also going to be changing this motor here. After I got the plate off there, I turned the key on and made sure that both blower motors were working good. And this one here, it's just wore out and it won't get started unless you actually help it get started. Then it'll take off then. So got one of those coming. Parts guy's bringing me one of those right now. So we got the new expansion valve in there with new O-rings, and then we've also got this new blower motor that we installed as well. So we got the vacuum pump hooked up here with the manifold set, and we're pulling the vacuum. We're going to run it, let it run for quite a while I'm putting the seat and everything back together and putting the new fan belt on. So we'll at least get good 30-45 minutes in that. We've got the seat back in it, got the vacuum pump pulled off of it now, and we've got it sitting there and making sure that we don't have any leak in the system. It's holding good pressure, so we're going to go ahead and put 4 pounds of Freon in this tractor, and we'll start it up and test the air conditioner. Air conditioner's working pretty good. It's pretty down in the 40s, low 40s coming out of the vents. I'd say we got this one knocked out. So a little recap on this tractor here. We had a compressor that locked up, bearing failed on the clutch there and burnt the belt off of it. So we went ahead and removed the compressor and the belt. We went ahead and flushed the AC system with flush, and then we put a new compressor on, new dryer. We pulled the seat out of the cab to get access to the expansion valve, and when we were in there we noticed that the left-hand blower motor was not working, so we went ahead and put a new blower motor in there as well. And then we pulled a vacuum on the system and charged it with 4 pounds of Freon. Today's a pretty cool day, so the pressures afterwards, when we were running it, the pressures were pretty low, but that is pretty normal for a cool 60-degree day. And it was high 30s, low 40s coming out of the vents. So I think we got this one knocked out.